Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends of Water. I'm your host, AJ Fikejs, and with me here tonight, I have Fikejs Eckelberry, James Wolozsyn, and Ken Berenger. We're going to be talking about the dark secrets of U.S. water infrastructure, a thread of Ken's that blew up pretty significantly over the past week or so, and some really interesting comments on it. But first, before we get to that, for all of our long-term investors who have been with us over the last 4 years and over 40 systems, we are going to provide our normal little business update. But I get to lead that off this time because we have a couple special announcements and a press release that's going out today. If you haven't seen it, you should go and look for it.
It's gone out.
It went out.
So here you are. Water on Demand execs recognized for Opportunity Zone innovation, right? You can read more about all of that fun stuff. You've been hearing us talk about the Opportunity Zones now for a couple of months. But the big news here, right, is recently appointed CEO Ken Berenger, not just co-founder, not just co-chairman. He is now CEO. Congratulations, Ken.
Welcome to the chores of CEO.
I was going to say, I'm not so sure congratulations are in order. But no, listen, I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled because now other people actually have to listen to me instead of just me listening to me. So that's good.
I listen to you every day. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, I'm supportive. I'm very supportive.
That's because I pay you, right? So
keeping things going along, right? Officially now, COO, Mr. Chief Operating Officer James Wolozsyn. James, also congratulations that we can finally tell people this is officially what you're doing.
Anybody who knows what a COO does is feeling sorry for me right now.
That's his dark secret. That's his dark secret. Yeah.
We give you hugs, and we also have one more new face that you haven't met yet, but you probably heard about. We do have fractional CFO Corey Mertes, who couldn't be on the show today. We'll probably get him on the show for next month, but we're very happy to have Corey on. We're assembling the dream team over on the Water on Demand side and really making some waves there. So that's really, really exciting stuff.
But about the press release, what's really super cool is David Silliman, his remarks. He is blown away by a major innovation we made, which is, you see, the problem with these giant funds is people create a giant fund, but they're going after, I don't know, $100 million, $12 million, but they can't pay their current bills.
Right.
And so their burn is not covered. And the innovation that I think Dave is recognizing in this release is the fact that we have found a way to share the general partnership, the sponsorship with investors. They share in what's called the carried interest, which is the ongoing distributions, the revenue, and also, which is a huge, depreciation, which is 100% because of Trump's new bill, along with all of the limited partners. So this is the catbird seat, and we're splitting that out, and it's allowing us to develop things and to take care of people modeling the finances and all that incredible stuff. And that, I think, is a major step forward.
No, I certainly agree. I mean, we have been getting questions about kind of the structure because this is a little bit different, right? Most people are kind of understanding about how companies operate or even how opportunity zones operate, but they're not necessarily as sure how we are doing these things, especially bringing in some of these innovations. So we do have a graph here, Riggs, that you put together. I'm going to go ahead and share that. How about you take us through that to help just give people a little bit of a better understanding on how exactly this thing works and what this looks like?
So this infographic shows us three major things. The top right of this is the king of the hill, Water on Demand Inc. And I'll explain to you why Water on Demand Inc. is so important, because it really, everything flows in the end to Water on Demand Inc. Now, we have what's called a two-tier system for the fund and the business. The fund, which is on the far right here, which is the fund we're building, and I was talking about the sponsorship, people being able to share the sponsorship. That is what you might call the top fund in the two tiers. And I realize it's not on the top, but imagine it's on the top. And it flows capital to the far right Opportunity Zone business, which then spends that money. Okay? So the fund, we raise the money in the fund, the money goes to the business spends the money. And then, of course, it has various fees that it pays to, guess who? Water on Demand Inc. And it then returns the net balance to the fund, and that's the distributions. That is the money being made. Okay? So there's really three ways that money is being made for Water on Demand Inc. Number one is, far right, you see general partner distributions. In other words, the money being made for being the sponsor. and also the management fees for the fund. Number two is the revenues for its servicing all the water sites that are out there. And number three, after 10 years, there is a closeout or a sale of all the contracts, which is still going on because these are 20-year contracts, but a 20 years water contracts, but a 10-year fund. Those contracts get rolled over into Water on Demand Inc. It then owns all those assets and it pays off the fund with a giant thank you kiss, and that is the check. That's the basic structure of it. I know it looks complicated, but it basically is three parts: the King of the Hill, the fund, and they're all LLCs because that's how you push things through, and then the business. The final point about this is there's a major secret weapon that is now happening all over America. It's affecting Airbnb, it's affecting real estate, all kinds of crazy things, which is 100% bonus depreciation. That means that
I was hoping you'd mention that.
Yeah, well, I leave the best for last. So when you install these machines, you get to take, let's say it's $1 million machine, you take that $1 million and you get to pass it on to the investors themselves. Both the limited partners, bottom right, and the limited partners in the sponsorship both benefit on their what's called a K1, their tax return. So it shows that they maybe made some money from the distributions, but also showed that they quote unquote lost money from the depreciation. This is a very powerful weapon, and it is causing roughly an additional 7% per year of earnings on this fund.
Not to belabor the point, but when we do sell those contracts to Water on Demand Inc., instead of just retaining 20% of all the income of all that, it's now a 100% recipient of all the income. So analysts love decades of income. And when you're essentially giving yourself a 500% pay increase, right? That's a big deal.
Amen. I love it. So that's the story. Obviously, there's more to know about this. Stay tuned for more updates, more discussions of this. We will be getting into it further. I know that it's relatively complex, but that's how the tax code is written.
Right, and when you guys, if we do speak on it, if you say, look, I want to get clarity on this, I want to maybe get involved. I will simplify it in a way that you'll have an understanding of the rules of engagement, if you will, and then you'll consult your CPA on how it affects you particularly.
All right. Well, I mean, with any of these types of changes and any types of new structures, right, you're bound to have questions. And so we encourage you guys, again, always to reach out and ask questions. You know, you've got people that you can give a shout to and always ping us at invest@waterondemand.com with your questions. So we're happy to take those. But I guess I will go back in time. So that being said, there's a lot of really exciting stuff happening within Water on Demand. Again, Water on Demand being the company we've already got that we just talked a bit about the fund that's being produced, but Water on Demand has had operating divisions for many years now, and one of them is currently on fire. James, how about you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, PWT. I assume that's what you're asking about. PWT is absolutely killing it right now. That's been a lot of my focus over the last, let's call it 6 weeks, 8 weeks. They can't produce fast enough for the amount of work that's coming into them right now. I mean, that team, Mark Stevens over there, the president of PWT, is absolutely killing it. And just one highlight, they literally closed a deal this week, which is, we measure them per quarter in terms of how much revenue we expect to see out of them. They closed a deal this week. That's 6 weeks of their revenue in one shot. That company is, I would just say they're killing it. PWT brought on a new process engineer, essentially somebody that helps them close deals about a month ago. His name's Gary. I'm just seeing more and more and more work coming in. In fact, we're now leveraging him to help us inform the Water on Demand model. Spend some time with Gary, the expert at the PwC side, and Corey, our new CFO, yesterday to help nail down some specifics on the Water on Demand modeling. I don't want to get into too many details, but when Corey, our CFO, and I were trying to figure out how do we find an expert to help us with our modeling, and we had this little, let's go talk to Gary.
Look within.
Exactly. and half an hour yesterday between the three of us, and I'm like, Corey, we found our expert, and he works for us. So yeah, PWT, Mark and his team are killing it. They're absolutely killing it. That's
nice,
my
man.
update.
Now,
No, it's
and
awesome.
look, I'll make an observation. They are evolving and growing and getting better, but it's also very, very positive because it's the general economy. All of these. Look, when you offer 100% bonus depreciation on building new structures, you're probably going to have people building new structures, right?
No,
So
yeah.
that's going to lend a lot. I mean, I don't know if our audience, or I'm sure they do, 100% bonus depreciation on construction can create massive reinvestment in American, commercial real estate, residential real estate, and of course, manufacturing and,
And there's a basic trend here, which is, remember that silver tsunami, 7 million municipal jobs going away, aging out, and it's falling on companies like Progressive Water. So all the central municipal stuff is shutting down because they don't have people, and it's going to younger people like Mark Stevens and his team, who are then taking up the slack privately. And this is the giant tsunami, and then it's enhanced, as you say, by this bonus depreciation. Very exciting.
I mean, the PWT, I don't think can keep up with the amount of work coming at them at the moment, which is
That's
another
the problem.
opportunity. It's another opportunity.
We're really sorry to hear that.
It's a good thing they got a. Well, it's a good
how to
thing.
help them. Yes.
Exactly.
It's a good thing they have a building that doubled their footprint, and
Yeah,
I think we can tell Mark what we can do with the other half of his building. You start filling it up, baby. Let's go. So
conversation for next week.
It's about a 5-acre lot, isn't it? It's a big lot. Also,
It's big. It's
big lot. Yeah, they're like, hey, we got all this room. It's like, you know what happens when you get more room to put stuff? Start putting stuff there. So it's good. It's fantastic. All right. Well, with that, I think that wraps the business update. Thank you, James and Riggs. I appreciate all of those items. But now, what we came here for. Ken, you started teasing people. You said you were going to uncover the dark secrets of U.S. water infrastructure, and you put out a thread that was pretty much a banger. You've been putting out a lot of threads lately. Yes, you're welcome. But it's a big one. This one is currently sitting at 1.1 million views. I'll go ahead and flash it up on screen for everyone to be able to see exactly what we're talking about here. But hot damn, what a thread. Take it away.
Look at that guy. Oh my God, that guy is dying.
Dude, that poor guy, right?
Oh my
That's on
God.
every street corner in America, ladies and gentlemen.
That water can cut your hand.
Wow. That's like it's like a pressure washer, right? So I mean, and look, it cannot. Let me give you some background. So I've tried to create a presence on X because I really do think it is the new medium. I said where a lot of these other digital platforms are kind of on the wane. I really believe X is very, very much on the rise. And I do think you see a lot of business leaders, a lot of opinion leaders, kind of distinguishing themselves by giving opinions out there on X. So I began to write about what I refer to as asymmetrical wealth creation. How does a guy with an idea become the next Wayne Huizenga? Or how does he become, the next Mark Zuckerberg? Or, and then much more less famous names that their stories are absolutely, they didn't make a movie about them, but they're absolutely astonishing. And there are key elements to asymmetrical wealth growth, asymmetrical wealth creation. I go over them in my threads. I won't go over them here because we only have an hour, but or half an hour. But the reality is there's some elements. It's having an idea. It's knowing how to position yourself in the market. It's also being well prepared, but being a risk taker. Like all of those elements. Huizenga particularly, he could have just, been a garbage man, right? And he decided to buy garbage trucks, and he became, he passed away at a multi-billion-dollar net worth. So, I've been building a fairly significant audience. I think the number of engagements, I'm at some 24 million engagements. You have the stats.
Okay, so I have the stats right here.
And I want to thank Josh Will for helping me manage my account because he's you got to answer this. You got to answer this guy. I'm like, I got stuff to do. So he's been phenomenal. And thank you, Josh. This was an idea of creating a presence, but as a combination of Riggs and Riggs is kind of, he saw some colleagues of his do it, and it was really, really effective. And then Josh implemented it. So thank you to both of you. You're making me famous whether I want to be or not. So
stats. 46 million impressions and 9,000% growth since we started the program. We've done 21 of these threads, the multi-threads. Today will be 22. 9,000 new followers of Ken Berenger, which means he has to measure up. And then 1.2 million engagements. That's super important. People getting involved. 33,000 profile visits, people looking at Ken's information. 3,000 replies. 500% growth, 2,000% growth in likes, reposts, 14,000 reposts, 55,000 bookmarks, the 11,000%. And by the way, nobody ever looks at those again, but nonetheless, they're bookmarked. And almost
I've got thousands of bookmarks. I'm definitely going to get back to them.
Exactly. 5,000 shares, which is 6,000% growth. That's amazing. Why? Because there is this thirst for water information. And what's happened
we buried the lead. Those stats were significantly less than that until a week ago, or a week and what was it, AJ? A week and a half ago.
Yeah,
I was talking about Heisenberg and this guy and that guy, asymmetrical wealth, and we were gaining a following. Then we wrote about what we actually do.
What?
We got 1.1 million views on that thread, and look. You can speak with authority about recognizing patterns and what do these guys do that's all identical, that creates growth, but it's still third person observation, right? It's got a couple of degrees of separation. When we started talking about what we are truly passionate about, our mission in life, which is to restore the world's water one system at a time. When I began to talk about that, hundreds of thousands of people came out of the woodwork and you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, you got to do that. And the level of engagement to me, it blew me away. I said, my God, this is just, now we have an audience. Let's talk about what we do, because this is how you change the world. You start to develop an army of people who believe in your mission. There's no one more passionate about what we do than us. And if we can impart some of that passion to, millions of others, I think that's a winning formula. But I'll let you continue.
No, I agree, because the thing that's interesting is because people, one of the things, right, is that if you are obviously the CEO of Water on Demand, and as we were talking about water, that lends people to then go and check out Water on Demand. What are we about? Well, that led to a few hundred new followers over there, tens of thousands of views on our profile, and over 1,000 engagements just from that thread alone. People do care about the water, and they care about the dark secrets, which you've now avoided skillfully for the last 3 minutes. So can we get to the dark secrets of water, for the love of God?
All right. If I tell you, I have to kill you. All right, look. So, and I encourage you to go to my thread, find it. It's you'll see the guy with the water exploding.
We'll link it in the description of the video below,
we'll link it in the
get
description.
right to it. I promise you.
Riggs touched on some of this. The median age of guys working in this industry is 45. That seems young, but there are hundreds of thousands of these guys in their 60s.
7 million.
And they're what is it several million?
7 million retiring municipal workers. That's the key, right?
Right.
The Mark Stevens of the world are still in their 40s, but the municipal guys, they're in their 60s and retiring, and there's 7 million of them retiring right now.
Right. So that younger herd of guys are going to handle it on the decentralized, on the privatized side. And look, we know that private anything has levels of efficiencies that government just simply does. Think about the pension bomb that happens with these municipal guys when they all retire. Well, that's a whole other discussion. So median age is 45, but with 7 million in retirement age. Some of the infrastructure, it dates back to the 1800s. Okay. The average age of the pipe, I thought the median age of the worker was 45. It's actually in the 60s. The average age of the infrastructure is 45 years old. We're talking Vietnam War era stuff right? So now in the municipal space, if a pipe breaks, it's $1 million a mile to replace. And any of you who have seen your favorite road to get to work closed for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time know that the commerce disruption is phenomenal. The ability to literally, so that's bringing water to where it can be treated, right? How about we just bring treatment to where the water is?
Hey,
See,
no,
that
we're not talking about solutions yet.
I know, I'm
We're not
teasing.
talking about
I'm teasing.
solutions yet.
Okay, so we have a quarter of a million. We have a quarter of a million water main breaks every year, and I believe at this point we're somewhere north of $400 billion short on what's needed just to maintain status quo. But don't worry, there's good news. That's growing by about 50 billion a year.
Well, actually,
I'm sorry, that's not good news.
It's actually worse than that. Do you know what the number was last year when I did the research on it?
It was 253 billion.
It was 256 billion. Now it's over 400 billion in a year.
So it's an 80%, 78% increase.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, listen, also getting back to what we were talking about, this massive boom of infrastructure is as a necessity of a massive boom of construction, right? When you bring to bear 100% 100% bonus depreciation, well, people are going to build stuff, right? And that will only accelerate this urgent need. So, yeah, and look, there's part of the reason I felt that this resonated is because people 10, 15 years ago, Riggs would have to shout from the mountaintop, your water really sucks. And people are like, nah, it's fine. I flushed the toilet. It's fine. The water tastes okay. Then they saw Springfield, Ohio. People die benzene in the water, and people are getting rare and awful diseases. And they go, wait a minute. Look, raise your hand if you drink your tap water. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, right? So I think America in particular has come of age where they recognize now this could be one of the single largest long-term health threats that is actually fixable, right? So and I really think it came at a perfect time. We were right. We were just really early.
Well, I mean, but the thing is again, these dark secrets, right? The reason that to me that I think it feels secret is exactly the point that you just made, right? It is exactly because people can turn on the tap water. It's because they can flush the toilet. It's because they can do those things in America. And so, yeah, they see construction happening on the road, but they don't think of anything of it. So you saw that image of the video of that guy fixing a water main break, right? Guess how many of those are every year? And water main breaks every year. Trillions of gallons of water lost. I believe the number is 395 trillion gallons a year is lost.
Well, that's 395 trillion gallons of lost revenue water.
Well, it's lost revenue water. It's lost treated water. It's just water that should have been going somewhere that's not going anywhere. And we ask ourselves, okay, well, why did this happen so bad? And one of the really interesting things that I thought, or at least I picked out of the thread that you mentioned was, I think that again, you put putting these pieces of the water together, right? The infrastructure is really old. It's not being updated. It's going to cost a lot of money to get updated, and it's not being updated fast enough, which means that we've got workers retiring. We've got lack of funding. So everything is falling apart. How come that's happening? And there's a really interesting point that you made in the thread that says that basically the federal funding of these projects is down to 9%.
From its height in the 60s or 70s?
In the 70s, it was at 75%. And so they have passed off over 60 some odd percent to the local taxpayer, the local person purchasing your water. You're the ones that are funding these things together. And that's just not enough. You wonder why your water bill goes up. That's why.
And decades of individual businesses, which are kind of high water users and high water polluters, industrial pollutants, they've tapped into these city water supplies. That's why you can't drink your water, right? They don't have a separate water ecosystem, which would be a preventative measure of allowing our drinking water supplies to be contaminated. So we can talk. I promised wasn't going to talk about solutions.
You don't talk about the solution yet, because there's something better that we can talk about other than solutions, Ken. Because what happens whenever you bring up a problem to somebody, there's always got to be someone that's got to complain. So just to put a cap on this last segment here, the dark secrets of water are that government has typically been funding this thing, and it's down to 9% of funding. You are literally paying for everything else, and because you're not paying for it, nothing's happening, and it's getting worse. So that's really the dark secret of infrastructure: is no one's coming to save you, and it's only going to continue to get worse unless somebody does something. We have good news on that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But as always, right? Whenever you're going to talk about anything, everyone's an expert. We had to have some of our great freedom fighters on X that came to tell us, guys, don't worry about the 240,000 water main breaks. Don't worry about the 395 trillion gallons of water that's just flowing into the ground. It's not lost, right, Ken? That water's not lost. It just goes in the ground. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. And so I guess my comment would be, that's true. It's not lost. But then again, if I take a meal and I just throw it in the dirt, it eventually deteriorates and enriches the soil, and you can grow more soil. So it's not really lost, right?
It's fertilizer.
I mean, it made my head hurt. So I look, and I get it. It's like, I'm smarter than you. Here I am in my mom's basement, and I'm going to prove you wrong. Okay. But look, here's my point. They're not wrong, but it's also that complacency, that attitude, like, oh, the water's, that's part of the problem, because you're like, oh, it's not lost. But how many decades does it take for that water to come back to where it's in usable form for us or for agriculture or anything else? Unless you have that number, right? And the point is, somebody's paying for that water, and if it's not you, that's a problem.
Well, look, we've talked about it before. If you go to, I think it's Vegas, they put in an IndyCar track. They had that track almost didn't get made. They had to figure out a way to get recycled water to clean the track before they would let them build it, because they have such amazing droughts out there. And I mean, amazing, terrible droughts, right? And we constantly are running into these issues where, again, we say, yeah, but my water still turns on and my toilet still flushes, so water's not a problem. The water's not lost, it's just in the ground. But that water is in fact not getting to where it needs to go. And the fact that we are in essence wasting treated water, wasting good water, and just having it go directly into the ground because our infrastructure is bad. If that's not ringing a 5-alarm fire to you in your head going, again, who's paying for that? Oh, that's right. You're paying for that. So I get that you could say, oh, the water's fine, it's not lost. Okay, well, you're going to pay the thousands of dollars that it's going to cost to actually get new water to come there because that water just went in the ground. Are you happy paying for that?
Is it a problem now? Does it bother you now?
Right. Does it bother you now? Right. Of course it does. And I think that that's just one of those things where it's we rib on it because it's a pretty silly concept on its face, but I literally wanted to make it a segment because there were so many people making the same comment.
So I'm not making fun of the guy. So the guy probably said, look, it's not lost. It goes into the ground.
It wasn't one.
It's lost for now.
That's what I'm saying. It was many. It was a recurring theme. And so it's like, guys,
I get it. But all right. The point is, it's that's equating to throwing food in your yard and saying it's not wasted because eventually it'll be returned to the earth and come back up with the corn in my yard. Okay.
Yeah, but it's actually more equating to you're paying for water to come to your house and the water main under your house directly breaks. And so your water doesn't work and your toilets don't work. And now you have to pay to fix it, even though you didn't break it.
And you pay for that repair too.
And you're paying for the repair, and then you're going to pay for the water you lost because it still happened on your property. And then you're going to pay to get new water there.
Now, you don't pay for that water. Here's what happens. Right? Your rate goes up just a little bit and it goes across the board. And they go, why did my water rate go? Well, someone's got to pay for this stuff, right?
So yeah, it's a little bit of a poking fun here, but it actually is a real issue that the fact that the sentiment exists shows that there's just a lack of awareness of how big a problem this really is. And if you're thinking that there's not a problem losing 395 trillion gallons of water a year, then that's something we got to talk about more, apparently, to make you understand where that's coming from. So with that being said, I do want to move into our last topic for the day and keep us here on track. let's bring up a clip here from X. We also, so not only does Ken have a wonderful X account, so does Riggs, and so does Water on Demand. You should be following them all. We have one quick clip here from Riggs talking about the solution. I promised you we'd get you the solution. The hope is not gone. Now here is your solution, and we're gonna kick this off by watching this little clip from Riggs here. Just bear with us.
We see that happening in many sectors. I call it forced decentralization, right? Companies or users have to adopt their own solutions because the centralized solutions are breaking up. For example, energy. We know we were falling way behind China, way behind. And what's the solution? Well, literally, it's these micro nuclear reactors that are literally everywhere. As opposed to taking 25 years to build one giant nuclear reactor, you can have a bunch of these built in a few years. So you can just distribute them, right? I saw a model of one by the Department of Energy where they created a mini reactor that looks about like a traffic control box, and it services all the energy needs for 10 houses. Boom, that's it. Well, you just put a bunch of them in place and you've solved your problem. Similarly, in public transportation, we can't seem to get our act together with high-speed rail or whatever, but that's okay because we're going to have robotaxi. Again, individualized solution.
So there we can see from that clip from Riggs.
But please continue.
No, I know.
Please.
I love being on mute.
Don't let me interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's I said from that clip from Riggs, that's just shows the solution exists already, right? And we're doing it in different sectors, right? The example he gave, right? Having a little tiny reactor that can power 10 houses, right? If that's more cost effective and scalable than building a ginormous multi-billion-dollar power plant that is stuck in one area and requires wires, then that's the way of the future.
And guess what? A little mini water system servicing 10 homes, right? Like, I mean, like that, yes. That really is the future. Obviously, taking the grand infrastructure out of the picture because it becomes more and more difficult as populations grow and move. I mean, if you get a major population center surge, you're not going to build a multi-billion-dollar water treatment system, right? You basically decentralize. So forced decentralization is a thing. Like most things, the innovation happened at the corporate level. Businesses, manufacturers, farms, like they had no choice. They're like, well, the farm is here, right? Nobody's bringing water to me, so we're going to deploy a system here. Or the manufacturing, a warehouse space is really, really cheap out in the country, right? So we're gonna move our manufacturing facility out in the country. Okay. Oh, but we can't. Remember when I said that water mains were $1 million a mile? So if you're 5 miles outside of the city, it'd be $5 million just to that's before you've made any widgets, right? So that's a problem. But decentralization, you'd be talking about a system that would run a few $100,000 and would essentially turn your location into its own micro utility. So that's huge, right? That is the future.
Right. That's absolutely the answer. I mean, it makes sense, right? I think that people overcomplicate some of these situations because they don't have the ideas or the thought processes to kind of scale up a big project. And in reality, it's a lot easier to look at cell phones, right? Like, let's try and make it relatable. I don't know if it's going to, fuzzy out my phone or not, but you look at cell phones and it's really, solved a communication problem that was long withstanding. First, you had telegrams where you get literally mail and telegrams, and guys are sending stuff across a wire. You got your Morse code, and then all of a sudden we start to have actual phones, but you need landlines. And then overall, these kind of solutions continue to decentralize. Well, before you had one phone per household, you had one phone in a neighborhood. You had pay phones out in the wild, right? When was the last time you saw a pay phone? You don't have them anymore. They don't exist. Why? Because cell phones exist.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Right. So there's different innovations that happen over time, but if you look at how things tend to go, someone has a great idea and builds something, and they build it really big and it services a lot of things, and then people start having to make it smaller so that more people can take advantage of it. It's a logical progression of technology to be able to solve these problems.
It's mainframes to PCs, right?
Yes.
And the last time I saw a pay phone, it was $0.25 to make a call. I have no idea what it costs now.
There isn't any. You can't.
$0.25. Yeah.
At least
I
not in
think
North
you can. Right. Exactly.
Not in the U.S. You can't anymore. I'm pretty sure I saw an article a couple years ago, like about them taking away the last payphone in some area, and it's like it was like a mark of sad where it's like, man, I used to ride my bike to the mall and have to call my mom collect, right? It's just it's a sign of the times. So that being said, I thought it was a very apt clip. Obviously, we posted it for a reason, but it just goes to show that decentralization is not just a trend that needs to happen in water. It's a trend that's happening everywhere, and it's going to continue to become more prominent in the overall space. So, with that said, we do have one more clip, but we seem to maybe have lost Riggs. I don't know what happened to the video feed, but we're still going to proceed on and move forward anyway. Here, there's one last clip from Riggs talking about the Innovators Dilemma, and I'm going to share that right now.
And look, I've Clayton Christensen. I've read a lot of his work. I can if he's not around, I can comment on it a little bit.
Sure. Well, here we go.
There's a very good book by a brilliant man, the late Clayton Christensen, who wrote a book called The Innovators Dilemma. And in that book, he says that large, existing players resist change. Why? Because it'll break their business model, right? So if he gives an example of the steam shovel being replaced by the Caterpillar diesel. Well, the steam shovel people did not want to do something that would be 1/100th of the cost. No way. Well, guess what? That made them vulnerable to the guy who was 1/100th of the cost. And here's what's interesting. Those advances often come from within the existing player, right? So he gives a whole history, for example, of the disk drive industry, which disk drives getting smaller and smaller. And each time a disk drive would be half the size, it would destroy the company that made the larger one. And it's almost comical.
Right. So, and this is really where Water on Demand as a true, pure solution comes into play. So we've built, sold, and installed dozens and dozens of systems around the country just in the last 4 years. At the time, they're cutting edge, and they're still cutting edge today. But eventually what happens is this. Two car manufacturers. So the one car manufacturer's sole purpose in life is to put the other car manufacturer out of business, right? If I can destroy you, I will. Like that's your fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders. So what happens is innovations ultimately create new industries and destroy the previous iterations, right? Now, we recognize that even in the chip world, when NVIDIA comes out with a new chip that maybe beats Intel's, what happens to those stocks? They get smashed. And so the reality is that you're only as good as your last trick, and you can never truly stay ahead of innovation in its pure form. Water on Demand recognize the fact that we're going to let the innovators innovate. We'll let natural selection, we'll let business natural selection take over. And what we're simply going to do is we're going to empower all the best manufacturers in the world to solve the water. Look, the technical brilliance and capability to solve the world's entire water problem already exists. We have the capacity right now. It's decentralized, as Riggs would put it, or spread out amongst tens or even hundreds of thousands of manufacturers. So how do you empower an army of manufacturers towards how do you create a Manhattan Project? You bless them with financing, because who's the customer? The customer is a small business that gets a quote, and it's only $2 million and you're in business. Ooh, so $2 million. I don't have that, right? Now, the engineer spent 3 months quoting it, and the manufacturer. So now business is stuck. We know right now there's $1.26 trillion of water infrastructure projects that are stuck. Guess what point they're stuck at? Go ahead. I'll give you 3 guesses. The money, and the money. So by simply providing a conduit, there's more than enough very smart wealth out there to empower these if they had a vehicle. If they only had a vehicle that it could be competitive with other major asset classes, we'd be in business. Here we are, finally.
And from a planning point of view, remember when we were planning on buying a lot of water companies? Yeah. We did the math finally. Right. You want to buy $10 million water companies. You spend $100 million, and you just got 10 companies. There's 100,000 of them in America.
Right.
What kind of a change have we made? What kind of a difference? And these are low margin, 16% net profits. By pivoting to the finance, we're helping all of those guys, hundreds, thousands of water companies with the money, and it's highly profitable.
It's highly, so the margins on money is essentially infinite, right? Margins on money are infinite. And it isn't the technical brilliance that's necessary. That's not missing. It's not the pent up demand. That's not missing. The only thing was connecting individual investors from regular guys like my mom and dad to accredited guys like us to institutional guys to have a vehicle where they could solve the problem and be richly rewarded. That is water on demand.
Well, and it is, right? And I think the things that we've been trying to help people understand more about the mission, because, there's been a lot of talk, especially over the past year, right, about kind of moving away from that manufacturing mission and really transitioning to more this financial model. And I think if you understand what we're saying in terms of the context, it makes sense. But to put it very plainly, we've built, dozens of systems, over 40 systems in the last 4 years that are either transporting, cleaning water, millions of gallons a day. And that's great. But when you're talking about a trillions, hundreds of trillions gallons of water problem, right? That doesn't move the needle fast enough. And the reality is that water as a space is a neglected space. It's neglected, obviously, by the government. We've made that abundantly clear. There's no funding. They've stopped, providing funding. You're basically funding it already. So why don't we just take it the full, the full Monty and just go with it? The reality is that if we really want to make a change in this space, if we really want to see the water improve, right, to turn some of these kind of dark secrets or some of these, things that we just, brush under the rug, so to speak, and we want to bring them to light, we actually want to affect them, we have to do it at scale. And no matter how many water companies we could buy, we'd never build enough systems realistically to ever make a dent.
Right? And your investors would, in a way, be shortchanged. Because you'd be deploying hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Great, we made $10 million.
Well, I mean, and even, but here, let's take that out of the equation. Even if, let's just say we did great. Let's say we did great for the investors, because I feel like the plan that we had was going to do great for the investors. I feel like everything was going to be on a good, solid path for them. We still can't make enough change.
No, you're right.
That's the problem.
If your mission is about the water, then that's not the way to do it. I agree. Look, so before anyone, Riggs before me and then me later, we cared about this before anybody cared about it. We were yelling about it before anybody was yelling about it. We have lived, slept, and breathed trying to come up with a solution for over a decade. So believe me, if this is just about the best way to fix the water, then this is it, right? Forget about the rest. Forget about it. Just make it about making our water safe again globally. This is it's not the best way. It's the only way. And if we don't do it, I'm afraid no one will.
Strategically, you always want to do something that nobody else is doing, right? Steve Jobs did something nobody else was doing, which was an intuitive computer, and then an intuitive phone, and on so forth. So you step into the space, assuming that there is pent-up demand, which there is, and you're the only guy. Now, why are we the only ones? Currently, there are companies out there that are financing water systems, but they are always their own, never everyone else's. So you got tens of thousands of water companies there that don't have access to the capital that the big guys do. And so it doesn't happen. We are servicing the broad water market in the way that zero other players are. And that's amazing.
The good news, it's never been done before. The bad news is it's never been done before. Right?
Yeah, but true,
we know how to do it. We know how to do it. We have what we need.
No, it has been done before, just not exactly in this application. In other words, opportunity zones are working fantastically. We're just applying it to the water model. So it's just a matter of connecting one working thing model with an opportunity that's unique. But we're not inventing anything new. This is called, leveraged financing, and we're getting it done, and it's water as a service. We're just democratizing it. That's all. Yeah. Very simple.
Right. And in one of my asymmetric wealth threads, I talked about, some of the biggest wealth is created by not inventing something new. Take something that is already in existence, find a different way of applying it.
Exactly.
And that's really what we've done here.
Well, yeah, I mean, to further your point, Riggs, is people are doing it, right? They're funding their own systems. That's exactly what we were going to do at Water on Demand, right? We were doing that, and we were building systems and saying, hey, we're going to finance them. It's going to be great. But then you look at it and you go, just damn it, it's not going to actually do is what we needed to do to be able to move the industry. And in reality, when the opportunity zone, opportunity came knocking, and we go, guys, this is the thing we've been waiting for. This is the if we could, because again, I'm one of the newest parties here. James and I are a couple of newer parties here. When I first joined on, and I was talking to you, Riggs and Ken, about what does Water on Demand do, what does its mission mean, what is all these things, and it really is to solve the world's water problems, to really do this kind of really big mission. And the only method known in existence to be able to actually do that, to where you could have the money available to do that, was what we were trying to do with Water on Demand in the design, build, own, operate kind of space, but just try and scale that. And then all of a sudden, this bombshell of opportunity zones being opened up and being this new avenue for investment came along, and we go, holy crap, guys, this is it. This is it.
I told you my London story, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
just, you sit in a room with $80 billion, and all they want to do, they just keep talking about how they want to have an impact and they want to improve the world and blah, 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 blah. And you tell them how this will, and they, oh my God, this is great. I love it. What's the tax break? I go, well, we're working on it. Boom, lights off, right? So listen, everybody wants to do the right thing, but they have a responsibility to, whether it's shareholders or the family that they're allocating the capital for. They have a responsibility, and one of those responsibilities is to be able to depreciate and, of course, avoid unnecessary taxation. So until you had a vehicle that was on equal footing to other asset classes, look, a lot of people would have done it anyway, but not enough to really move the world. Okay. Now you have no reason not to. You've got all the reasons you do these other things, and you can measure $1 million investment. You can demonstrably see that you are going to be restoring 14 million gallons of water every year, not the first year, not the 10th year, every year for the rest of your life. So scale down to an average person, $1,000 investment is 14,000 gallons of water every year for the rest of your life. That is a measurable impact. And there's no other impact investment out there that can give you those stats, right? So I think that is a huge, that sets us apart in a very positive way.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, really, thank you, AJ, for setting up this format. We've been able to really cycle through. And I want to say that the next LOW, I really want to introduce the amazing Corey Mertes, who sold his financial practice recently in Los Angeles and has volunteered for this task. He's starting easy. He's currently fractional, but the intention is for him to be full-time, to be a major player. And he is delighting us. I think, James, you would agree. He's sharp. He cut to the quick. We have a financial model, which he made sense of immediately. The depreciation things sort of arrived on our horizon, and boom, he integrated it. So we're very, very happy with him. He's a quiet riot. He doesn't carry his sword on his over him. He's like, okay, very quiet, but he's highly competent. We're super pleased to have him. You will get to know him further, and he's going to be the key to managing how this thing rolls out. It's when you go to institutions, the finance is key. Without the finance, you can't bullshit them. You have to prove your point. And Corey,
and there's no, we're working on it. No, it can't. It's like, here it is. Here it is.
Yeah, his background. He worked. The reason why I liked him. I liked him, but the point is, the reason I thought he was a good fit was he worked on a giant insurance company roll up, where a bunch of insurance companies were going to be combined into one. Ultimately, it didn't happen for regulatory reasons, but the work that he did to support that effort was amazing. Stacking together all those business models, making it all stack up and make it the vision show for the investors. And a lot of people got super excited about it. Again, government is what it is, but the work that he did was superb, and we'll be talking more about that.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you everybody. And again, so that next episode, this next episode of Legends of Water will be on September 18th. It's always the third Thursday of every month. Might have a new look next month, so stay open to that. Just to keep your eyes on all the things. But if you want to follow more about what we do, follow at Water on Demand on X. Follow at Ken Berenger at RigZec. We'll make sure to have links in the description below for all of those things. And if you'd like to join us in the mission to restore the world's water and to solve these water problems and actually make a meaningful impact, please head over to offer.waterondemand.com. You'll be able to state whether you're an accredited investor, you're a regular investor. We have opportunities open for anybody really now to help us on this mission to restore the water and really be able to see your money doing good in a phenomenal way. So with that being said,
if you can't, repost it.
Yes.
Just repost it. Help this go viral. Help get the message out to the rest of the world that there's a chance to do this now while it's fresh.
Absolutely. You're gonna see a lot more awareness generating campaigns come out of us here shortly. Again, make sure you're following all those socials. Please do share, leave comments, let us know what you're thinking. Let us know your thoughts on what we shared today. Some pretty interesting stuff. We'd love to hear more about it. But again, for all things Water on Demand and Legends of Water, that's us for today. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next month.
Have a great evening, folks. Good night now.
It's been a pleasure.